Hagin Erev Yom Tiv. We're heading into Simchas Torah, but Simchas Torah is Habracha. It's the Parsha, and so on Shabbos we had Shabbos Cholamoid. We don't really get Habracha. We don't get too much Torah, but this Shabbos I looked and I wanted to find something on the Parsha. I don't know if it's overlooked, I don't know the right lashon. Bereshis, they say Chazal set up that there's dafka not so many days to learn Bereshis because you're not supposed to spend your whole life in Gan Eden worrying about Gan Eden. You're supposed to worry about the future. Although you have to understand Gan Eden to an extent to know what we have to work on. We have to masak and other Marishan. Besides that bracha, it's all brachas. We should pull out a little Torah from the Parsha. The Nesiva Shalom says Morid the Gevart. The pasuk says Yosef Amam Berachas Hashem Artzai. What does Yosef have to do with bracha? That's the shayla Nesiv Shalom asks. Yeah, we should get bracha. What does that have to do with Yosef? What is it bracha's davka attached to Yosef? And he says like this: every single person that comes into the world comes with a chelek of Yisurim and a chelek of Hana, of Geshmak. The problem is that we cash in on one of them. You have to choose. If someone cashes in on his Yisurim, then all he's left with is just the Hana that was allotted to him. If someone cashes in on his Hana, then what's left? Just Yisurim. What's Yosef Atzadik? Yosef Atzadik had Shrekel Chisur. His brother sold him. He went down to Mitzrayim as an Eved. Ish's Peitifai drove him a sugar. He was thrown in prison for years, and Ish's Peitifai was there too, trying messing with him. Even as the king of Egypt, when you're thinking, okay, everything was over. It wasn't over. He's running Egypt. He's stuck in Egypt, the lowest of the low. He came from Yaakov Avinu, from Kedusha Tahara. Now he's stuck as second in command of Egypt. Tzofnas Paneach. He had a terrible life. Incredible Yisurim. The bottom line, since he dealt with his Yisurim, what was he left with? The Hano of being king, the Hano of having two children, Gershon and Ephraim, who were elevated to be Shvatim, who were Erlich Yidden, even though he was in Mitzrayim. He had the Hano of being able to feed the entire world. That's the bracha that Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us. Maybe Zoiche like Yosef. To get your Yisurim out of the way. To be able to experience the Hana that Hashem has planned for us. Everyone has the Hana waiting. But the question is, are we going to be able to be Zoiche to experience them? That's the bracha. Just like Yosef Atzadik, you should be able to take care of the Yisurim so that you're left with the Hana, as opposed to, unfortunately, the opposite. Someone who totally indulges in the Hana is all he's going to be left with is Yisurim. And the Olam Hazeh and in Olam Haba. He was a Yid, lived in Europe in the times of the Chofetz Chaim. And he spent his whole life dealing with Chesed. He was a Baal Chesed. And he had Gemachim, and he had organizations. And he was getting older. And he thought, maybe it's time for me to retire. Look, when I said there's always going to be good in the Chasadim, someone will fill my shoes. Maybe it's time to take it slow. But it's a big decision. You're not just going to shut down an organization without Das Torah. So he went to the Chofetz Chaim for Das Torah. He showed up for a Shabbos in Radin. And the Chofetz Chaim welcomed him warmly. I think it says in the Chofetz Chaim ala Parshas says not to say Shalom Aleichem when you have guests, because if they're hungry, skip Shalom Aleichem, go straight to the food. Maybe the Malachim will stick around if you're a Baal Chesed. You're having guests, they'll stick around for you too. They'll be your guests as well. Anyway, the Chofetz Chaim had him for the whole Shabbos, and he wasn't going to talk about business or his shayla till afterwards, much of Shabbos. Before he went home, he was going to ask the Chofetz Chaim his question about closing down the organization. And by Shal Shuddis, the Chofetz Chaim would say some Torah. As he had sat through and he was listening. And it was Mamash Baruch HaKodesh, V'Surah Meir HaKoyin, Kagan, Papko, spoke straight to him, Mamash. And he said, we say by every Shalosh Chodesh we have the Mizmor LeDavid. We say it 3 times. And it says, Ach Toy V'Chesed, you're defuni kol yemei chayai, fragt the Chofetz Chaim. I mean, you're defuni. Toy V'Chesed is chasing me? Toy V'Chesed? We chase after Toy V'Chesed. What do you mean Toy V'Chesed is going to chase me? Chase? Why is there a redifa? You're defuni with Toy V'Chesed. The Chofetz Chaim said as follows. There's a certain amount of running that every single person has to do in his life. You're going to run. The tefillah that David HaMelech is asking the Rabbeinu Shalom is, Rabbeinu Shalom, I beg of you, let my running be for Toy V'Chesed. We're going to have to schwitz a certain amount in our life. Make sure that our schwitzing is for Torah. There's a certain amount of tsar that we have to experience in our life. Let it be tsar of taking on the burden of other yidden. Tsar gidul ba'anim. Good tsar. There's a certain amount of everything allotted to us. Make it for Toy V'Chesed. And this Yid understood immediately that there's a certain amount of schwitzing, there's a certain amount of running around that he's going to have to do in his life. And may it be for Toy V'Chesed. And he didn't even need to ask the Chofetz Chaim anymore, Shaila, and he kept his organization open. May we all be zoyichet to have the Yisurim of Toy V'Chesed. And be zoyichet to experience the full hana that Hashem has allotted to us. And have a murdik simchas Torah all year, all our life. Toy V'Chesed yirdefuni, Toy V'Chesed yirdefuni, yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. Toy V'Chesed yirdefuni, Toy V'Chesed yirdefuni, yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. Yudifuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti, v'shavti, v'shavti beveis Hashem. 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 Li'ayirech yomim, li'ayirech yomim, li'ayirech yomim. Li'ayirech yomim, li'ayirech yomim, li'ayirech yomim. Agid yom tiv.